how do you actually deal with unconscious energy, with egotistical energy, or narcissistic people? Because if you're on the spiritual path and you're learning how to become more present to the moment, this is something that you're going to have to deal with one way or another. You will have to deal with these unconscious energies one way or another if you're learning how to become more present to the moment. It's just something that's going to come up inevitably. And in fact, it's not happening to you, but it is actually happening for your spiritual growth. And I'm going to explain to you exactly why. So if you're new to this channel, consider hitting that subscribe button and that notification bell, because I post a new video every single day. Also, if you want to become a private client, then consider applying for a free consultation by hitting the website that's in the description box of this video. So how do you actually deal with these energies, with these unconscious people? Because you have to realize that these unconscious energies are actually in fact happening for you, right? You might think, why is this happening to me? Why do I have this family member, Francis? Why do I have to deal with all this unconscious energy? Why is all of this happening to me? Well, you have to realize that I've been through this myself, right? As I became more conscious, as I became more aware, there's certain things that I had to deal with in my life. You know, there was family, there's certain friends, certain relationships, and you're going to start to become way more conscious and way more sensitive to these energies as you become more present to the moment. That's what an empath really is. It's actually somebody that is so consciously in tune with the present moment that you start to become very conscious of narcissistic and unconscious energy, because the darkness comes to the light, so to speak. And so to deal with this is to have a deep understanding, first of all, that you're not going to win the game with a narcissist by logically winning. It's not a logical game, because a narcissistic energy and an egotistical energy wants you to play the game of reactivity, right? That's how the ego actually survives. The ego survives off of unconsciousness and unconscious reactive patterns. And I've dealt with this. I've dealt with this a lot. And I've learned how to overcome these energies by using my meditation and my spiritual practice, and then incorporating it into everything that I do in my life. Because you have to realize that the game that the ego is trying to play, you will not win. Right? When an unconscious person tries to point a jab at you, and then you get reactive, and then your ego gets defensive, right? Maybe they say something that has something to do with your sense of self, who you think you are. And then you feel the need to defend that sense of self. Who are you defending? You're defending a false sense of self that doesn't exist. And the problem is that you're going to be trying to deal with these egotistical energies thinking, how do I change this person? Like, why are they so reactive? They're so reactive, Francis. Like, I get what you're saying, but like, you know, my family's different, Francis. You don't understand how reactive my family is, Francis. You don't, like, this relationship that I have, they're so reactive. Francis, how do I actually change these people? Well, I'm going to propose an idea to you that involves not changing the person, but actually dealing with their energy within you. Okay? Because it's very easy to notice egotistical energy in others. And that's exactly how the ego works. That's exactly what keeps that energy alive. Is just keeping your focus outward on the other person, thinking, how do I change them? Why are they so reactive, Francis? Why are they so evil? Why are they so evil? Is that what pure evil is, Francis? Narcissism? Is unconsciousness pure evil? And then you notice how all your attention goes outward, but none of the attention is on you. Ever. And that's exactly what is keeping their ego alive within you. And so I'm proposing an idea to you that you don't actually have to deal with their energy. You have to deal with your own energy within you. And that is how you complete the past. That is how you will deal with the narcissism energy, because everything is just a reflection of you. And unless you learn how to deal with that egotistical energy that comes up within you as they are reacting, you will carry that energy forever, and you'll not complete the past, and you're going to have to hold on to that for the rest of your life. And you're not going to have dealt with the core issue that is keeping all this egotistical energy alive on the collective consciousness of the planet. You have to deal with the collective energy within you. That is how you actually help the collective. Deal with the energy of the narcissistic person within you, and you will actually deal with the energy within them, because there is no separation. What does that mean on a more tangible level, friends? It's okay, there's no separation. We're all one. Well, think about it like this. When a narcissistic person points a jab at your ego, right? I was just talking to a friend the other day, and he had a strong jab pointed at him. And then his mom was saying something to him that was it was like a strong jab. And then it's like, when somebody points a jab at you like that, like a narcissistic person, like, why are you this way? Or like, why are you doing this? You know, or like, it's just like they point something at your sense of self. You feel the need to react, right? And that's how the ego stays alive. The ego stays alive because of the reaction. You are giving the ego exactly what it wants if you react. And I'm not asking you to not react to the person. I'm proposing an idea to you to actually not react to your own reaction to that person. So you feel reactivity coming up in your being. You feel the need to react. Well, instead what you do, which is going to be completely counterintuitive, by the way, you're not going to want to do this. Because every part of your ego, and then that person's ego, is going to want you to feed into the reaction and add fuel to the fire. Okay, you're not going to want to do this. But instead what you do is, I'm going to give you a suggestion where you observe that reaction and that need to defend your sense of self when the narcissistic energy is trying to get you to be angry. They're going to try to get you to react. They're going to try to get you defensive. They're going to try to make you do all these things that are lowering your state of consciousness, and you think that it's happening to you, but it's actually happening for you. Instead, what you do is, I want you to just do nothing and just observe it fully. Just fully observe that energy and do absolutely nothing. Because the more that you just observe that energy and do absolutely nothing, what's going to happen is you're going to be able to start to shift the energy of that entire interaction and just kind of be there as the observer and not feed into it. Not feed into it, because you're not going to win the game logically. Believe me, you're not going to win the game logically. And so unreactivity is actually the first step to all of this. The second step is to understand that all of this is just patterns. It's just patterns that are playing out. It's not who you are, and it's not who they are. And to deal with those patterns within you, that is like, those patterns that are in the other are actually coming within you. And to deal with that energy is how you complete the past. You want to fully complete the past by just becoming conscious of that energy. Because the more that you become conscious of that energy and you actually complete the past fully, then you're never going to see that energy as a reflection anymore. And if it does come as a reflection, you'll be able to just observe it within you and let it go, which is the counterintuitive thing. Because instead of getting defensive, who are you defending? Right? You're not defending anybody. You're defending a false sense of you're defending a fiction. Okay? You are defending a character that does not exist in reality. It exists within your unconscious ego. And the ego, the unconscious ego, is the part of you that is the identity. And what is the ego? It's nothing more than the unobserved mind. The unconscious part of you. The part of you where you have no conscious awareness of your thought patterns. And then you identify with those thought patterns, believing those thought patterns to be who you are, not seeing them as just what they are, just patterns. They are just patterns and nothing more. And so understanding that that person actually is just playing out some patterns is the key to all of this. Understanding that it is not who they are. Understanding that it is just patterns that are playing unconsciously that are trying to play within you, and they're trying to make you play that game. It's just patterns. It's not who they are. It's not who you are. And I've dealt with this a lot in my life. But I came to the point where I learned how to accept those patterns within me and then complete them fully and let go of that karmic energy, you could call it. It's just karma. That's what karma really is. It's a negative unconscious energy that has to come to the light, and you're going to have to do that. You're going to have to do that. If you're in a family situation right now, it's your job. If you're watching this video this far, it is your job to complete the past within your family to an extent. It's not your job. You don't have to, but do you really want that energy to stay within you? Because you're thinking, how do I fix my situation? How do I fix my family? How do I fix my friends? Don't worry about that. Just worry about that energy within you and fully observe it. What is the ego? It's the unobserved mind. And when you're in a narcissistic argument, what happens? Are you present to the moment? Usually not. Usually you become extremely unconscious yourself, and then now you're feeding the ego, giving it exactly what it wants. Instead, what you do is you stay as the observer, which is the counterintuitive thing that goes against that energy. You're not going to want to do this. You're going to want to react. You're going to want to get defensive. You're going to want to say something. You're going to want to defend your sense of self. Well, instead, what do? You observe that urge to argue back, and you do absolutely nothing. You just observe the reactive patterns within you. You're fully there with the reactive patterns. You don't feed into it. You don't give it the energy that it wants. You're just there as the observer, as the awareness, as who you actually are, as pure consciousness, not the unconscious patterns. They're not who you are. And to identify with those patterns means that you become unconscious in that moment, giving the ego exactly what it wants. So don't feed into it. Don't give it what it wants. Do the counterintuitive thing. That's true power. The ego thinks true power is to defend its sense of self. I have to defend myself. I have to stand up for who I am. It's not really who you are. It's a false sense of self. But in that moment, you believe it's who you are. I have to speak up. I have to defend my sense of self, right? I need to prove myself because this is really important and my entire sense of identity depends on this, right? That's the energy of the ego. And the ego thinks that's true power, not realizing that that's the most disempowering thing you can do. And that is, in fact, the worst thing you can do in that moment is defend your sense of self. Because who are you defending? You're defending a fiction. You're defending a character that doesn't actually exist, right? You're defending a fictitious character that has nothing to do with who you actually are as pure consciousness of the pattern itself. Okay? Because the pattern itself is just a pattern, and if you continually identify with that pattern, you will only give it what it wants, and the ego what it wants. The narcissistic energy you're dealing with has nothing to do with that person. Which leads me to the last point, which is forgiveness. Can you forgive that person? Not because what they did was right or wrong. Not because you want to just forgive them and agree with what they did. Not asking you to agree or accept what they did morally. I'm saying, can you forgive that energy of whatever it is the narcissistic person did? because you know that at a deeper level, it has nothing to do with who they are. It has nothing to do with who you are. And can you forgive them because people are just doing the best that they can given their level of consciousness and awareness? Because had they been aware, if they were consciously aware of their thought patterns, not identified with the false sense of self and ego, would they have been taking the same actions? Maybe you're holding on to something from the past. Would they have done that same thing if they were conscious? Most likely not. They probably wouldn't. And so if you're going to hold on to the energy, what you're really doing is you're holding on to anger, and you're angry at somebody. Well, what are you doing? You're actually keeping anger within you, because we're all connected. You're angry at somebody else, you're actually angry at yourself. Because there is no separation at the end of the day between you and that other person. You might be thinking, well, Francis, what does that mean there's no separation? I always hear there's no separation. Well, think about it like this. While you are angry at a person, you literally are holding energy within yourself that is anger too. So you're matching that vibrational energy, and you're doing a disservice to yourself as well. You think that you're being the big macho powered man by focusing on the evil of that person and how unconscious they are. Well, what are you really doing? You're just matching their energy in that moment. That's all you're really doing. You're just falling down to their level. You're becoming unconscious yourself. The more empowering thing to do would be to just do nothing. Just be there as the conscious witnessing presence and observer. Right? That's true power. That's true freedom. Is not having the unconscious energy. And can you forgive them because they were just unconscious? Can you forgive people? Because here's the thing that I want you to understand to end off this video, is that when the narcissistic energy tries to point a jab at you and you get defensive, you have to realize that it has nothing to do with your sense of self at a deeper level. When people are attacking you, you get defensive. You're like, oh man, like, why is all this happening to me? And like, this is so, how could they say something like that, Francis? Like, I know what you're saying, but then, my situation is unique. Because my situation, you wouldn't believe that the things these people say to me, Francis, they're so narcissistic, and they're so negative, and like, it's just such an attack on me. I feel so attacked. That's because you have a strong ego as well. The fact that you take it as an attack and a threat is a survival mechanism that your ego creates, when in reality it has nothing to do with who you are. Can you accept and forgive them because their attack has nothing to do with who you are? Can you accept that their patterns have nothing to do with they are? Can you see the unconditional love and consciousness that they actually are beyond the patterns and the surface level that you're attached to? Because we're all divine spiritual beings at the end of the day. What do I mean by that? I mean that beyond the conditioned part of us, there's all something that we're tapped into, which is the consciousness that comes before all of that. All the forms, all the patterns, all the negativity that you're labeling as bad, and then you fall to victim. Who that person really is pure consciousness. And can you see the unconditional love that you see within yourself in the other, because you see that it's all one? Okay, so just forgive that person. Forgive yourself for seeing that person in that way, because you know that you held a judgment towards them as well, which created that energy even more, right? Apologize. Not to them, because you're apologizing. It's all your ego. Let go of your ego. Apologize for seeing them not as the divine being that they are, but seeing them as the pattern. Apologize. Say, I'm sorry. They'll feel that healing energy that comes off of saying, I'm sorry. Okay? And the more that you do that, you'll notice your entire reality starts to shift, because you're completing the karmic energy of the past. You're completing the energy that will continue to go for the rest of eternity until somebody like you becomes conscious of it and lets it go finally. Do you want that energy to be passed on down to your kids? Do you want to carry that energy with you and then spread that to others unconsciously on the bus and interactions because you haven't dealt with the energy within you? Because trust me, I understand. I've been there. I don't want to be coming off as some authority figure. Like, I've been there. I'm only sharing with you my experience because I've been through this narcissistic energy and I've learned how to deal with it and protect my energy. And the best way to do it is to focus on your level of consciousness. Stop trying to change people. Changing people won't work. Change their energy within you and your perception of them, and they will change. Biggest paradox you'll ever learn in your life. Worry about your state of consciousness. Worry about your ego. Worry about your reactivity. Worry about your perception of that person, not forgiving them and seeing them as not what they actually are as the divine being, and then they will change. Change your own ego, change your perception of that person as who they really are. Make the change within you, within yourself, and then you will see a reflection of that in that person. Because there is no separation, right? And so to deal with this narcissistic energy is just to focus on your ego. Do not turn your perception outwards. Bring it inwards. Deal with all that energy within you. And you'll find that you see a reflection of that as well, okay? And so everything that I shared with you is extremely counterintuitive, but this is how you do it. This is how you really do it. This is the key. I just shared with you the key to enlighten the entire consciousness of the planet. Because the more that you impact the consciousness within you, you also impact the collective as well. Because a bunch of yous, individual egos, create the collective ego. But when you start to deal with the consciousness within you, that is the best thing you can actually do for the collective. Do you see that? Do you see how the best thing you can do for your narcissistic relationship, or the narcissism of the planet, or the thing that you label as evil on the planet? How do we deal with the evil? How do I so much unconsciousness? Francis, I'm so present to the moment. How do I deal with this unconscious energy? Nobody understands me. Deal with the unconsciousness within you. That's all you have to focus on. The best thing you can do for the collective is focus on the unconscious energy within you and become conscious of it. And the more that you do this, the more that you'll learn how to deal with that energy and move through life in a very smooth way, where you're not in resistance to the form that this moment takes. You're not in resistance to the narcissistic energy that comes. Because you are now the light. You bring the light to the darkness. You bring the consciousness to the unconsciousness. That's the key. You follow this, you will see a reflection of this. Narcissism will never be an issue in your life. And the last thing I wanted to share with you is that the more conscious you become, the more that you do this, the more that you'll realize that you're just starting to naturally let go of narcissism in your life that doesn't necessarily have to be there any longer. Because it was there to an extent for a purpose. Because you can use this as a spiritual practice to develop your consciousness even more. These unconscious people in your life are not happening to you. So don't get lost in falling into the victim mentality, because it's not happening to you, it's happening for you. Because when you can learn how to deal with this, you will realize that is where the true spiritual growth actually comes. So I'm going to go full circle and bring it back. If you can learn how to do this, if you can, as Eckhart Tolle would say, if you can spend a week with a narcissist, sometimes people say your mom, because that's the person that's usually more narcissistic than you, which is just how it usually is for some reason. If you can spend a week with a narcissistic person and remain unreactive and present, you know that you've achieved a level of presence that is powerful, that spreads light to others. So that's all I have for you today. If you like this kind of content, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, because I post a new video every single day. Also, if this video helped you to deal with narcissistic energy in some way, make sure you hit that like button, because it really helps the channel grow, and it's going to help more people see how to actually deal with that narcissistic energy. So hit that like button if you enjoyed this video. Also, I wanted to announce that I have a free guided meditation that's specifically designed to teach you how to connect deeper to the present moment and deal with these narcissistic energies in a much easier way. The meditation is just specifically designed to teach you how to be present, but it will definitely assist you in dealing with narcissistic energy or manifesting your reality, or pretty much anything that has to do with connecting deeper to the present moment. So it's totally free. Just hit the link that's in the description box of this video if you want to download it. I'll also leave it as a comment in this video, and I really think that it'll help you, so try it out. It's completely free. That's all I have for you today. Have yourself a great day, and see you in the next video.